And look, the Supreme Court just made a brutal call when it comes to home equity. $76,008 worth. That's what a county in Michigan sold a family's home for. Now you might hear that and figure it must have been some haunted, half-collapsed teardown with a raccoon problem. It wasn't. The county's own assessor, their own paperwork, said that exact home was worth $194,400. They sold it for 39 cents on the dollar, over a property tax bill of just $2,242. A tax bill the family had already fought and won in court. And the guy who bought it at the auction for $76,000 turned around and resold it just weeks later for $195,000. Value validated. Same house. He didn't fix a thing. He just found a stranger with a six-figure check willing to make the trade. And so he did. Finders keepers. And last month I told you this case was coming. Let me show you exactly what they did. The Supreme Court of the United States just last week looked at the whole thing, all of it, and made a call. A brutal one. 9-0. Sucks for the owners. But what does this mean to you? You see, they didn't just rule on one family in Michigan. They drew a line, and your home equity landed on the wrong side of it. Meaning, if you played by the rules, if you paid your taxes on time, paid off your mortgage, did everything they told you was the responsible thing, you've been carrying a quiet little assumption your whole life, that the house is yours, that once it's paid off, nobody can just take it. This family, the Pung family, did everything right. They paid, they fought a bill they didn't believe they owed, and they actually won in court. They owned their home free and clear, but the county wasn't cool with that. So things escalated to the Supreme Court, and the court sided with the county. So you are right to feel like the rules protect the system more than they protect you. Here's what the court actually said in plain English. When the government takes your home for unpaid taxes and sells it, you're owed the leftover money, the surplus. The court settled that part back in 2023. Take what you're owed, give the rest back. A $5 bill for a $2 coffee, you get $3 back. Kindergarten stuff. The question this time was simpler and nastier. What counts as the rest? Is it based on what your home is actually worth, or on whatever some Tuesday morning auction happens to scrape together for it? The court picked the auction. Justice Alito wrote the opinion. The surplus you get back is, these are his words, nothing less and nothing more. Nothing more. Meaning, if your $200,000 house sells at a county auction for $80,000, your just compensation gets built off the 80, not the 200. Even if the person who bought your property at the auction resells your home for $200,000 a day later. As far as you're concerned, that other 120 grand just evaporated. But if you're thinking, hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, you should have paid your property tax bill. Well, just wait until later when you hear what Justice Clarence Thomas had to say about this, because there's more to it, and it's not that simple. But picture this. You owe the city, let's say, $200 on a parking ticket. So one Saturday morning, they walk into your garage, drag out your $30,000 Camry, slap a for sale today only sign on the windshield, and sell it to the first guy who pulls up at 9 a.m. for $8 grand. They hand you a check for $7,800, the $8,000 minus your $200 parking ticket. And they tell you, hey, we're square. Are you square? You didn't pay a parking ticket. You got financially vaporized over a parking ticket. And the city's whole answer is a shrug and a, hey, we followed protocol. That's the Camry. Now make it your home. That's the ruling. Word for word, in effect, that is what the Supreme Court just blessed. And here's the part that should make your jaw tighten a little bit. The county had two numbers for this one house. You see, when it's time to tax it, the house was worth $194,400. When it was time to pay the family back, the house was only worth $76,008. That's not an accounting method. That's the kind of financial gaslighting usually reserved for toxic exes and crypto founders. And the government got to pick which number it believed. Every single time, it picked the one that favored them. Of course they did. Now you might be asking the obvious question. Why? Why would the highest court in the country sign off on that? The honest answer is right there in the opinion. Alito spelled out the reason. He said if they forced counties to pay you what your home is actually worth, A lot of these tax sales would, his words, net the government a loss. The translation here, paying you the real value of your house costs them money. So you don't get it. That isn't a legal doctrine. That's the logic of a playground bully explaining why he has to eat your Lunchables. And remember that buyer from the top, the one who flipped the house for $195,000? That spread he walked off with used to live in a legal gray area. A court could have looked at it and called it what it is, theft. As of last week, the highest court in the land looked instead and blessed it, unanimously. So now we run a system with the exact same ethics as a guy scalping tickets outside a Taylor Swift concert, except this one is settled law. Now here's the part I can't prove, so take it as one guy's read, not gospel. But I told you last month they'd find the loophole, and I think the court just handed it to them. Because if the auction price is the only number that counts, and the same county that profits from a low price is the one running the auction, I'll let you do that math at the dinner table tonight. Because I know how that sounds. But I'm not guessing at the motive. The motive's in the opinion, in black and white. A house sale that loses the government money is a sale they don't want to be forced into. They said it themselves. But enough about what they did. Let's talk about you, because here's where this actually turns. If the auction price is the ceiling on what you get back, then the entire game is making sure your house never reaches the auction in the first place. That's it. That's the whole defense. So what puts a house on that auction block? One thing, a property tax bill that goes unpaid long enough to go delinquent. That's the door, the only door. The foreclosure, the auction, the lowball offer, the flip, all of it starts with one unpaid tax bill. And now I've got to tell you something that sounds kind of backwards. You might be sitting there thinking, I'm fine, I paid mine off, I own it free and clear, I'm king of my castle. Well, if that's you, you're actually in the most danger of anyone watching. And here's why. When you had a mortgage, you had a babysitter, a highly motivated corporate babysitter. And your loan servicer, they paid your property taxes for you out of escrow, automatically. And the bank watched that file like a hawk because their money was tied up in your house. They were never letting a tax bill slide into foreclosure. They had skin in the game. The day you paid off that mortgage, the babysitter went home. And on the way out, they left the door unlocked. Now it's just you, your memory, and your mailbox. And this family is proof of what happens when one certified letter gets buried during the wrong 6 weeks. A hospital stay, a death, a move. Nobody's watching the file anymore. The thing you were taught to celebrate, burning the mortgage, owning it free and clear, quietly took away the one safeguard protecting you from exactly this. Now, before you feel hopeless about any of this, don't. Because 2 of the 9 justices basically agree with you. And they said so, out loud, on the record. Justice Thomas wrote separately, he went out of his way to point out that even if the tax was proper, if the tax was valid, and he says it wasn't, this family lost about $118,000 over a supposed debt of $2,242. And then he wrote a line I want you to sit with. He said what that county did was, quote, wrong, and on my initial view, likely unconstitutional. A sitting Supreme Court justice saying the county likely acted unconstitutionally in the very same ruling where he voted to let them keep the money. Thanks for the sympathy, Clarence. That really takes the sting out of losing the home. So this isn't as settled as they'd like you to believe. The door's still open a crack, but you don't build your family's security on a crack in a door. So here's your choice. It really comes down to just 2 plays. Play number 1, you trust your mailbox. You assume the bill's right, you assume it's getting paid, and you hope your house never touches a county auction for the rest of your life. That's the play the Pungs ran. They were responsible people. It cost them $118,000. Or play 2, you spend 10 minutes tonight guarding the one door that leads to all of it. And that's the only thing I'm actually going to ask you to do. Pull your most recent property tax bill. Just go find it. Look for one thing. Any past due balance. Any number on there that isn't 0. If you've got a mortgage, pull your escrow statement and confirm in writing that your taxes show as paid. Servicers miss sometimes. It happens. Don't assume it. Confirm it. And if that assessed value looks too high, hold that thought for 1 second. Because look, I'm just a United States Marine who's bought and sold houses for 20 years. I'm no constitutional scholar. But even I can tell you a house is not worth two different numbers on the same Tuesday. And now that you've seen how this machine works, you're already ahead of it. Good. That was the point. Last month, I gave you the warning. Today, you got the call. And I don't want you to lose your home over something so silly, something that could have easily been avoided. Here's how easily this can happen. It's all about your assessed value, the number the county says your home is worth. You may or may not pull that bill tonight and find a figure that's quietly crept up year after year on a house that hasn't changed one bit. No new roof, no addition, nothing. And you'll figure that's just how it goes. Well, it isn't. Here's what almost nobody finds out. Your county probably didn't send a single human being to look at your home. They ran it through software and completely got it wrong. And that's exactly why I pulled this one right here out for you to watch next. You see, once you see how that number really gets set, you'll never look at your tax bill the same way again. Most people never check it. Well, after this, you won't be most people. So go on, click that and I'll see you over there. God loves you and so do I. Take care.